So by large mansions, I mean Black Lives Matter is going bankrupt. Imagine my surprise. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Black Lives Matter potentially going bankrupt due to a big drop in donations over the past few days, weeks, months. Not really sure how long it's been going on, but they're facing bankruptcy. And when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm speaking about Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. This is the group that was started by Patrisse Cullors and her two other LGBT affiliated Black sisters. Okay. And I mean sisters as in friends. They're not actually related as far as I know. If I'm wrong, y'all let me know in the comments below. Now, Patrisse Cullors, remember, I've done many videos about her. Here is just a piece of it. Remember this right here? Some of her real estate portfolio. Now, this is an older picture. This is just a few of her properties. You got the big one in Topanga Canyon. That was 1.4. One in Conyers, Georgia, not too far from Atlanta, probably about 45 minutes out. It had an airplane hangar on it. That's $415,000. Another one in Bahamas. Did they make that? I think they were looking for that. I'm not really sure if they bought that or not, but that was one they were looking at. The Inglewood, California. This is kind of a lower end home. That's about $500,000, $700,000. Another one in South LA, somewhere else, about the same price, $500,000 to $700,000. But then there was another one that they bought up in the hills of Los Angeles for $6 million. Now, there was explanation for this, talking about, oh, well, the house, it's for, it's a content creation house for people that want to use this space, those who are linked with Black Lives Matter. All they really did was film one YouTube video in front of it. And when I say they, I mean Miss Patrisse Cullors right there in the picture, and the two other founders. They filmed one video in front of it and called it a content creation house. $6 million. They went on lavish vacations. They spared no expense. Now, here's a question I have for you guys who are listening to the sound of my voice and watching the video. Did any of the Black Lives Matter money reach your community where you live, anywhere near you, anybody that you know? I'll wait. Y'all let me know in the comments below if any of the Black Lives Matter money reached you. And to be clear, they've raised a ton of money. Okay. Now, this is not just for Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. This is all BLM related organizations. They raised $82 billion with a B ever since, I think, George Floyd, maybe even a little bit before that. This is coming from corporate money, your Apple, your Google, etc., and probably small donations. $82 billion. Now, out of that money, it says $123 million to the BLM parent organizations, and one of the parent organizations would be Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. This is what this was the OG group started by Patrisse Cullors and the two other women. Okay, now this is about BLM GNF specifically. Okay, they raised $90 million in 2020, and then as of, when was this article written? Just last year, almost a year ago to the day, they had $42 million in assets. So how do you go from raising $90 million in 1 year? Most of that was raised in about 6 months after George Floyd died. Having $42 million in assets, and now you're bankrupt. Like, what's really going on with that? Let's take a look at this article right here from Newsweek. You see the headline, Black Lives Matter risks going bankrupt. Now, again, has any of the money that they raised reached your pocket? I seriously doubt it. They raise millions. And once you zoom out and look at all the groups that are like Black Lives Matter in that same ballpark, they've raised billions. So where's the money? If you didn't get it, I didn't get it. It looks like they got all the money, spent it on real estate. And hey, man, if you want your money back, you're not satisfied with what they're doing. Oh, well, man, you're not going to get any of the money. And what they're going to do is create yet another LLC, corporation or whatever, run that check up. And then when the money runs dry, when there's no more dead Black men to capitalize off, they'll bankrupt that too. That's how it goes. But let's keep on going here. Let's get through this article to see if we can glean any new information. So Black Lives Matter risks going bankrupt after running an $8.5 million deficit last year financial disclosures indicate. Now, if they raised $90 million in 2020, and as of last year, like 1 year ago to the date, they had $42 million in assets, then how is it that 1 year later they have an $8.5 million deficit? What are they spending the money on? What's really happening? Because I don't know if the cash is reaching the so-called community. So what's happening? Let's dig into it. So as I said, Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the OG company, BLM GNF, saw the value of investment accounts fall by almost $10 million in the most recent tax year, according to a copy of its tax return first reported by the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative website. The nonprofit's latest Form 990 shows that a loss of just over $961,000 was logged on a security sale of $172,000. The disclosure suggests a year of missteps for the foundation, as well as a dramatic drop in donations. Well, like I said, ain't no dead black man. That's what they raise money on. George Floyd, all these people, that's what they raise money on. They were trying to make the person in San Francisco, Bankro Brown, be the next dead black man to raise money off of, but that was a no-go. They didn't charge a guard for the death, and the guard was a black male. Bankro Brown was actually a woman, biological XX. That's more of an LGBT thing. It's not really about a black male thing, so there's no way to raise money. That's just what's going on. They're looking for the next George Floyd because that was their biggest windfall. And of course, when he died, they raised so much money, and it was during the scam. People at the house bored, nothing to do. Let me just donate to Black Lives Matter, make myself feel better. Let me just give them money to make a corporation look better. Kind of a shakedown Al Sharpton type situation, okay? But then once that whole hysteria was over with and it died down, they may have maintained their level of spending, but without the ability to raise money to make the spending make sense. That's what I'm looking at right now, but let's see if I'm correct or incorrect. The foundation was started by organizers of the Black Lives Matter movement, which first emerged in 2013, following the acquittal of George Zimmerman and the killing of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. It is not the sole organization within the broader movement, but it is the largest and most well-funded. All right, let's see here. And of course, BLM, they were around back then. And then, of course, they played a big role in the 2015, 2016 election. But when it really sparked was 2020 after George Floyd. That really sparked it because, again, it's the pandemic. It was so much money floating around, so much fake money, printed money, and a lot of it went to Black Lives Matter. They did not get anywhere near the level of money that they got until 2020. All right. So is there a statue? Like, what's going on? Hold on. It's a remembrance of George Floyd outside the state capitol. All right. Let's see. Donations amounted to about $9.3 million for the period between July 1st, 2021 and June 30th, 2022, while net assets stood at about $30 million. I'm not sure I believe that because, well, yeah, that's probably true. I think George Floyd died in 2020. That was the majority of their donation. So that makes sense. 9.3. Yeah. And I think they raised, as I said earlier, $90 million in 2020. Most of that was after the summertime of 2020 up until the end of the year. By comparison, for the period between July 1st, 2020 and June 30th, 2021, the organization reported donations of nearly $77 million. That's about right. While net assets amounted to $42 million. That's about right, like I said earlier, suggesting a sizable drop in both categories. Brian Mittendorf, a professor of accounting at the Ohio State University, told Newsweek that the financials indicate spending down some of the windfall of the organization received in the previous fiscal year. It does not necessarily mean the organization is headed toward insolvency. However, if the revenues continue as they are after the windfall from 2020 and 2021, they cannot maintain their spending level from 2022 indefinitely. So the organization will need to shrink its spending footprint to be sustainable. Like I said, they're still spending the same kind of money they were making after George Floyd died, and there's no big dead black man to raise money off of. It's just that simple. It ain't really nothing else to it. All that gobbledygook right there, all that accounting lingo was just another way to say that they don't have a thing to raise money off of the same way they had in 2020 after George Floyd, and they're still spending like they do. So if they keep that up, they're going to go become insolvent. That's just the reality of the situation. All right. So there's more here, but I'll link to the rest of this in the description. I'm not surprised at all. I would not be surprised if they go bankrupt, if they go insolvent, and then start another LLC, because BLM GNF is just one of them. Patrice Cullors is no longer with BLM GNF, but she's still, I'm sure, getting money some kind of way from the whole Black Lives Matter grift, from the whole tangled web of LLCs, the corporations, and everything else that all do the exact same thing, shake down corporations for money to give to them. And again, you guys let me know in the comments if you know of any of this money that's gone to you. Okay, they have spending. What are they spending the money on? What kind of spending? Are we spending money on more real estate? Are we spending money on trips to Cayman Islands? Are we spending money on fancy parties in the hills of LA? Are we spending money on flights and travel and hotels and clothes and jewelry and cars? And what is the money being spent on? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about Black Lives Matter potentially going bankrupt? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I'm not surprised, because they ran the bag up off the dead black man. And then once the bag was finished, once the proverbial treasury got looted, they said, okay, I'm out. Let's just call it quits. Ain't nothing about the community and my black brother, all this and that. And the third, it's about just trying to siphon all the money that you can. And then when you can't spend anymore, when you can't buy any more mansions, when you can't buy any more cars and watches and trips to other countries and all this and that. And the third, when you can't do that anymore, pull the plug, move on to something else. And probably once another person dies and that becomes a really big story, you can create another entity and capitalize on it. It's really pretty simple. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.